Let's summarize what we've learned in this module. In this module, we talked a lot about exceptions, both system and message exceptions. We learned that system exceptions are thrown at the system level and don't involve a message moving through. They can occur on application startup or when a connection to an external system fails. We don't configure system exceptions, but they will be logged, and exceptions for reconnections allow you to specify a reconnection strategy. Message exceptions are thrown within a flow whenever a message is involved. We learned that if there is no exception strategy defined, the default exception strategy will be used. This will by default stop execution of the flow and log the exception. This can't be configured, but you do have the ability to replace it with your own default exception strategy. If there is an exception strategy set inside of the flow, the normal flow execution is going to stop and the message is going to be passed to that exception strategy. This was our example with catch exception strategies and the choice exception strategies, where we could choose multiple different exception strategies based on the exception being thrown. And finally, we saw that all flows can have their own exception strategy. If a flow does not have an exception strategy, the strategy of the calling flow will be used. Subflows cannot have their own exception strategy. They're going to always inherit from the parent flow that calls them. We create global exceptions by defining them outside of the flow, typically in a global XML. We reference global exception handlers using the reference exception strategy, and we set a global exception strategy by creating a global configuration element and setting its default exception strategy to a global exception strategy.